Hello, friends. I'm Kush Khandelwal, and this is Ageless Athlete. A few years ago, I started asking questions that would not leave me alone. Why do some people keep pushing mentally, physically, spiritually long after others burn out or break down? What does it really mean to age well when you still crave movement, meaning, and mastery? This show is my search for answers. Each week, I talk to elite athletes, everyday adventurers, and pioneering researchers who are stretching the limits of what's possible across age, injury, illness, and self doubt. You will hear hard won lessons, untold stories, and science backed strategies for building a body and mindset that lasts. For those of us joining for the first time, welcome to the show. For the rest, thank you for joining us again. Time is our most valuable asset, and I deeply appreciate you giving me your time today.
Imagine this. You are alone in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. No land in sight, just an endless horizon of rolling swells. Your arms are burning, your body exhausted after paddling 15 hours straight. The sun is relentless during the day and at night. The darkness is absolute. You hear the creak of your board, the howl of the wind, and the distant crash of waves. There is no rescue team, no one to call. It's just you, thousands of miles from shore, pushing forward stroke by stroke, day after day. What would it take to keep you going? Welcome, friends. This is the Ageless Athlete Podcast, and this is your host, Kush Khandelwal, bringing you another amazing story. In this week's episode, we meet Chris Bertish. Chris Bertish knows exactly what it takes. He's a big wave surfer, world champion, stand up paddler, endurance athlete, and ocean pioneer. He was the first person to paddle solo and unsupported across the Atlantic. 4,600 miles over 93 days. Just wrap your head around that for a second. 4,600 miles over 93 days alone paddling across the Atlantic. Chris also won the Mavericks Big Wave Invitational Surf Contest, one of the most prestigious big wave surfing trophies, and he did that after 42 hours of travel, zero sleep, and with borrowed gear. But his journey isn't just about defying the ocean, it's about defying the odds. Chris grew up in South Africa, far from the power hubs of the surf industry. He had no elite sponsors, no easy way in. For 10 years, he fought to get a spot at Mavericks, battling not just the waves, but the unspoken gatekeeping of the sport. And yet, time and time again, he found a way. Through grit, resilience, and sheer belief, he carved his own path into the world's most extreme challenges. But this episode isn't just about records, it's about mindset. We dive deep into a masterclass on visualization, how Chris mentally blueprints his success long before he takes action. So make sure you listen and focus on that part because I found that visualization piece really compelling. He talks about what it really means to go all in, to remove hesitation and bet fully on yourself. Then the fine line between courage and recklessness, and how to know when to push forward or step back. And then maybe my favorite, which is how he continues to navigate life as an outsider, as somebody who's new to this country, as somebody who's somewhat still considered as an outsider, and how he's turning setbacks into fuel for his biggest wins. This isn't just another interview, it's a storytelling experience. It's raw, it's unfiltered, and it's immersive. Chris, he spoke transparently and he spoke with his heart. And he doesn't just talk about his adventure, he brings you inside them. So, whether you're an athlete or an adventurer or someone facing your own version of the unknown, this episode will challenge you to rethink what's possible. Let's dive in.
I am in some dodgy little hotel in northern Florida. I'm in probably an area around West Palm Beach area. I literally flew in last night from Northern California, where I was doing the opening keynote for the PayPal's 2025 sales kickoff conference for them, which is what I do to pay the bills. But yeah, it's just life on the road all the time at the moment. I've been on the road for the last 6 months without stop. So being in a different place almost every day or every week has been a little challenging. I won't lie. Everybody was like, oh, it's amazing. You get to travel all the world the whole time. And yes, it is. But when you're in a different hotel, motel place every week for 6 to 8 months without fail, traveling around the country and around the world to different places, it can get quite testing. And I won't lie. It's I'm probably at the end of my tether right now. And I've still got to drive in 3 days' time up to Virginia to go and meet my new expedition craft, which is arriving. That then I put on a trailer and I drive it across the whole of America back to California, while stopping in Phoenix for another speaking engagement that I'm doing there, and then carry on driving to Northern California, then drop off the craft there for the rest of the build out on that side. And then I jump on a plane and fly to South Africa, where I'm doing a keynote in some remote game reserve surrounded by the big 5 wild animals for another company. And then I literally fly back the next day, arrive back in Northern California, and then fly to Boston for the Outdoor Expo. So it's like, this is what my life is like the whole time. It's pretty nuts and crazy, and the logistics are just exponential.
Indeed. Chris, you lead quite the life on the road. For an athlete, you have a hard-won career that you have put together, but you still are an athlete. How do you keep your mind, body in prime shape? What are some things you're still able to do despite the challenges of your schedule that keep you sane?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Kush. And I think a lot of the times when I'm traveling on the road like this, it's very, very difficult, because the one thing you need to be able to keep physically, mentally, and emotionally in check and in sync with yourself and deliver the best version of yourself is to be physically fit, which breeds mental confidence and mental acuity that allow you to be the best versions of yourself. So it's a combination between physical exercise, sun, nature, rest, and nutrition, and recovery. And those are the keystones for success in anything. And you've got to have that balance between all of those aspects in order to be able to be the best version of yourself. So think of yourself as a smoothie. Okay? If you're going to be the best version of yourself as a smoothie, what are the ingredients that go into making you the best version of yourself? So there's a famous quote by Rumi that says, know thyself. I need nature, I need rest, and I need good nutrition. So going back to your question, being on the road like I am at the moment is incredibly challenging and difficult to create a routine and a structure to allow me to be able to do that. And that's why I have to be super vigilant to try and create some sort of rough structure and routine to be able to help me deliver on that. And sometimes I don't get it right, especially when I'm in like an expedition build phase like I am at the moment, where I'm traveling all the time, but I'm dealing with so many different logistics and moving all the time. So I have to be incredibly vigilant. Like, I'm not really a gym person at all, but I have registered with a gym in Florida, just so I can have a place to swim, train, or train at night when it's either raining, or it's after dark and I'm not able to get the exercise that I need. But there's a gym that I can go to where I might be able to either run or swim or get one of the 2 ingredients that I need of 10 that will keep me in the best possible frame of mind.
Yeah, right on. And hey, for those of us who don't know you as well, can you take a second and tell us, Chris, who are you and what do you do?
So my name is Chris Bertish. I'm from sunny Cape Town, South Africa. I live currently in the USA, even though I wouldn't say that I live in the US. Well, I guess I do. I just live everywhere. I'm sort of a global nomad, but mostly focused in the States currently. But I speak all over the world. So I bounce out from wherever I am to different speaking events all over the planet. And yeah, I'm a surfer, sailor, big wave surfer, ocean pioneer, keynote speaker, best-selling author, filmmaker. Yeah, I do a lot of different stuff. I help on, I give back on philanthropy. I run my own nonprofit called Chris Bertish Foundation, which gives back to education, conservation, and sustainability. I mentor a lot of kids in disadvantaged groups all over the world. Yeah, and I try and use I use my expeditions to be able to inspire people to believe in themselves and what's possible, to go out and have a positive impact on the world around you. That's who I am and what I do.
Absolutely, Chris. You have done things that most people cannot even imagine. Yeah, surfing huge waves all over the world. And then a few years ago, you paddled across an ocean by yourself. So here's a fun question. Let's flip it for a second. And what is one totally normal thing that you're terrible at?
There are probably a lot of things that I'm terrible at. I think, when people are acutely focused on certain aspects of life to excel and be the best in the world, they often lack in many other areas. And I think you, like everything, you can't be good at everything, even though I'm good at many things. I'm definitely absolutely horrendous at anything to do with administration stuff, paperwork, accounts, keeping up with that kind of stuff. It's probably my pet hate, and that's probably why I find it so challenging. I'd rather wrestle a great white shark than do paperwork. So that's definitely one of my weak points.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, okay. So admin stuff is not one of your gifts, but yeah, clearly when it comes to pushing limits of human possibilities, you have figured something out. Of all the challenges you have taken on, Chris, so maybe a bigger question, which one tested you the most?
Hard to pin everything down. So I guess while I was at school, I was getting into surfing bigger waves. And what I really enjoyed from surfing bigger waves was that the playing field just became exponentially large, but the amount of people that were in the water became less and less the bigger the waves got. And I don't really like surfing in crowds, so the bigger the waves, the less people. So every time I saw really large waves, it just always looked like a really open landscape with not many people there to bother me and to get in the way. And in big waves and being out in the ocean in a really large, vibrant landscape, which is sort of deadly volatile and constantly changing, you learn to adapt and be very efficient. Otherwise, you come off second best and you will suffer dramatic consequences. So it taught me a lot of preparation and learning about myself. I really enjoyed exploring that space. And I guess that's how I got to the point of, then going over to California and trying to start surfing the big waves in Hawaii. One, and then deciding to try and be one of the best big wave surfers in the world. The journey that next 10 years of trying to get into one of the big wave events, which was either the Eddie or the Mavericks Big Wave Invitational, which I couldn't get into the Eddie no matter what I did. It seemed like it was very much a boys' club, and unless you had the right sponsors and everything else, you just never got in. So I ended up going to try and go to Northern California and trying to go there every year or two or whenever I could to try and make an impression to be able to get an invite into the Mavericks event. And that took me 10 years of trying to focus on getting in there. Now, it's not like I'm from America, so I couldn't be there for every swell. I could only get back there if I was lucky for 4 to 6 weeks every year if I saved up enough money, whether I was living in the UK or South Africa at the time, trying to allow myself the time and the money to be able to do that. And it took me 10 years to get that invitation. And then when I did get that invitation to the Mavericks Big Wave Invitational, which was the top 24 in the world that only got invited by invitation only, I was the only one that was in South Africa. I was in the middle of a Crocs appointment trying to pay the bills when I got that phone call. And it takes 42 hours to literally get to Northern California from South Africa if everything goes well. And I ended up going straight from that appointment straight to the airport, getting the only last seat that existed on the only flight that was going to get me there in time, with 4 different flights, not even knowing if the event was going to run. And I had no money. So I borrowed money from multiple different people, friends, family, to be able to get that ticket, to be able to fly over there. Arrived after flying for 44 hours, arrived at 6 o'clock in the morning, 0 hours sleep, freezing cold, none of my boards, none of my bags, no wetsuits, nothing arrived at 6 o'clock in the morning with nothing. Shirt on my back, ended up getting a lift down to Half Moon Bay, borrowing a board and a wetsuit and everything else from Jeff Clark. I'd left a wetsuit there just as a backup, thank goodness. Ended up being the first heat of the day, an hour and a half or 2 hours after getting off that flight, or 5 different flights, and ended up then getting caught inside within the next first 10 minutes of the day by a 60-foot wave that broke 10 feet in front of me and dragged me over a kilometer underneath the water in the space of 58 seconds, to the point of almost drowning and not being able to use my arms and legs and even be able to speak. And that was within the first 10 minutes of my day, on completely borrowed equipment. And then I ended up not giving up and managing to just get through that heat, and then the heat after that and the heat after that, until I ended up the waves just getting extraordinarily large. And by the time we got to the final, they were the biggest waves still, I think, ever seen in the history of big wave surfing at the time. And ended up winning the event on borrowed equipment after traveling for 42 hours against the best paid professional athletes on a day that redefined and changed big wave surfing forever. And I think that was quite a pivotal moment that sort of made me realize that if you have a goal, a vision, and a dream, and you take daily steps and actions towards it consistently over time, and above all else, you persevere and never give up, that you can literally achieve anything.
Wow, Chris, thank you for walking us through all that. You went from being a total outsider to winning the most prestigious Big Wave Award of that time. Yeah, quite a hero story. And I can see, yes, that there has been a lifetime of focus and preparation right from your early beginnings to make you the ocean athlete that you are. Moving forward a little bit, out of the many things you have done, this particular one that absolutely boggles my imagination is your unsupported solo crossing of the Atlantic in a paddleboard. So, yeah, would love to have you walk us through that story.
I've been thinking a lot about energy, not just in training, but in recovery, in focus, in how we age. So when I came across NutriSense, it hit home. It's a program that pairs a 24/7 glucose biosensor with a dedicated dietitian to help you understand how your body responds to food, stress, sleep, and movement, and then act on the data. I chose it because I wanted something real, not another hack or one size fits all plan, just honest insight into what's actually going on inside me and how to build habits that last. NutriSense has helped over 150,000 people take that step. And if you want to try it, you can get 33% off your first month with code Ageless15 at nutrisense.io. Again, that's nutrisense.io, code Ageless15. You can also find this information on the show notes for this episode.
I think at the time I'd get into stand-up paddleboarding more seriously, and then taking everything I'd learned through my sailing and ocean knowledge and the big wave surfing experience into starting to do longer world records and 6-hour, 12-hour, then 12-hour Guinness World Record. And then I started realizing that I could use the media from that to be able to give back and help others. So I started attaching charity objects to the journeys that I was doing and raising money and helping lots of people. And that's sort of when the penny dropped for me in regarding to how I could use these expeditions or these micro events to be able to have enormous impact. So then it became very, very purpose driven. And it wasn't just about achieving goals. Then it was about how can I use these achievements and these goals that I'm doing to be able to give back and help others. And then I did the first 350 kilometer unsupported journey up the wild west coast of Africa, unsupported, doing 50 to 80 kilometers a day. And that was pretty challenging, taking all my gear on my board and all my comm systems, all my water, my hydration, my food, my everything. Almost got blown out to sea multiple times, got shipwrecked on areas where there was no one else around in giant surf, lost half my equipment, almost it was just crazy. Got followed by sharks. It was just a crazy adventure on a normal open ocean stand-up paddleboard. But when I arrived, even though I burnt my corneas really badly and I couldn't see straight and I had blisters all over my face, I realized when I arrived that if I wanted to carry on doing these kind of expeditions, I needed to find ways to be able to get out of the sun and the elements, which were pretty severe. But I also learned through that journey that if I wanted to do those expeditions, I needed to take all my food and my water with me and be completely self-sufficient and be able to get out of the elements, build a way to be able to get out of the elements. And that's when I decided to do the transatlantic, which no one had ever paddled more than 350 miles at that time. And I was planning on paddling more than 3,500 miles unsupported. So it wasn't like you're just 10xing stuff, you're 100xing. Seemed completely beyond what was possible. I just have this deep inner knowing, with every fiber in my being, that I know that I can do it. And no matter what other people say, it's completely irrelevant. Nothing can sway me from my belief in myself and what I know is possible. And it doesn't matter that people say that it's not possible, that I'm going to die or whatever. When I have those super honed belief in a goal or purpose, it's almost like my every fiber and cell in my body knows that I can achieve it. And that just, in my head, it's already done. So I visualize really profoundly in a way that's quite difficult to explain. What I call it's like visualization on steroids. It's like what I call visual blueprinting. So when I visual blueprint something, I visualize it to such a powerful state that it's not just like you see it in your mind's eye. Once you see it, then you visually populate it with movement, color, taste, smell, and emotion. And once you can do that, what you're doing is you're populating your mental space, and you are creating a visual, mental, moving, emotional blueprint. And when you can do it and you can add emotion and all the other visual senses, then what you're doing is you're tricking your mind into believing that it's real. And when you can add movement, color, audio, and and senses to it, then your mind, from a neuroscience perspective, cannot understand and distinguish the difference between reality and what you're doing. So all you're doing is you are pulling that into reality. And when you can populate it to the point that you can watch it in full 4K color HD, and you can smell the smells, you can taste the visual senses, and you can hear the seagulls and see the visuals expressions on people's faces, and you can feel the emotion to the point that it can bring yourself to tears when you're watching that movie, then you've created the future before it actually exists. And all you're doing is you're pulling it into reality. And as long as you have a purpose greater than yourself, so it's not just about achieving a goal, you're doing it for multiple different reasons, what I call my layer cake, as in the layers of the reasons why you're doing it that drive you and inspire you to overcome extraordinary obstacles. It'll help you overcome any obstacle and challenge and help you achieve something which most people think is impossible. And that's how I put those kind of things together and then bring them into reality and then fulfill them. And then just put in extraordinary amounts of planning and preparation to be able to minimize those risks and minimize all the possible things that can possibly go wrong, and then put in multiple different options and backups of a backup of a backup of every single different tool, so that when things go wrong, you've already anticipated, you've already gone through it physically, mentally, and emotionally 6 months to a year beforehand in your own brain, and you've prepared for those scenarios. So then you're never in a reactive panic state. You're always in a positive, proactive state, so you can immediately act with a sense of proactive urgency and deal with things and implement the tools where other people would be in a panicked reactive state. You can deal with it with a dramatic sense of urgency, implement those tools, and get the outcome that you want, which is normally, first of all, to stay alive, and then second of all, to be able to get the outcome that you're looking for in order to be able to thrive in that scenario, or just survive it to the point that you can get to the next stage, which is whatever next challenge that you need to deal with a dramatic sense of urgency, in a pyramid version of staying alive from a red zone into a blue zone into a green zone. I don't think I ever got into the green zone, maybe like 3 or 4 times, which was just enjoy being where you are here and now. Most of the time I was just dealing with multiple different challenges in order to just stay alive.
Yeah, Chris, thank you for taking us through all that. And yeah, particularly, so many things there. I loved this visualization masterclass that you just put us through. I use some of that when I'm rock climbing, but being able to literally feel all those sensations through all your senses, I think that is next level skill. And I'll be thinking about this. Talking about being able to feel, imagine, and do things, I would love to spend a minute on the transatlantic battle. And perhaps you can take us into day one.
Okay.
So what was going through your mind as you pushed off the coast of Morocco?
When I started that journey, I was in Morocco. We had run out of money for the project because of the conditions were really difficult. So I couldn't leave because there were storms that were hitting the Moroccan coastline. So we had been there for a month. The craft had been sent to the wrong country. Then it got sent somewhere else. We still have no idea why it got sent to another country, because like literally that shouldn't be possible, because on the bill of lading on the ship, it said that it was meant to be going to this one location in Morocco, but somehow it did. And it sort of derailed the whole project. And it was almost like there was someone trying to sabotage the entire project starting. Hence the reason why I was actually alone on the dock by myself. My team had flown home. I got told that if I didn't leave that morning, I was going to get put in jail because my visa had expired. There was no one on the dock because I couldn't tell anyone where I was leaving from, because we had had a whole lot of issues with safety and security of myself. For me starting the expedition, it was like someone was trying to stop me from moving forward with it, so I couldn't tell anyone where I was. So I left from that dock completely alone at 5 o'clock in the morning. No friends, no family, no team, no one on the dock. And to push out in the pitch black.
Wow. So definitely no send-off party.
Yeah, I was my own send-off party. And when you're doing something like that in a foreign country with no one else around, no support, no team, nothing, it was the most terrifying moment of my entire life. To do something, to push off in the sheer blackness out into the Atlantic, to do something that everyone told you is impossible, and another guy that had tried 6 months before me that had only lasted 30, not even 18 hours before having to get rescued by the Coast Guard. I mean, it was incredibly poignant and testing moment physically, mentally, and emotionally for me, and how you push through your fears and adversity and keep yourself in a positive mental framework when everything around you is telling you not to go, but you have to override that and still proceed forward and just take that first stroke and that first paddle stroke and push through your fears. And I think it's a great example of life. You know, you've got to move through your fears, and you've got to take that first step and overcome it, because it's what's beyond your fears and what's beyond your comfort zone. That's actually where your greatest potential lies and your greatest self lies, is beyond your fears. And there's an amazing quote that I heard somewhere quite recently that says that fear is it's a mile wide, but it's only an inch deep. And I think that's a beautiful quote and terminology for framing fear in a positive way. You just got to just dive right in, and you've got to go head first into it. And when you do that, it's never, once you move through that first initial state, you know that you can overcome it. But you've got to take that leap when everything's telling you not to. And I've been very fortunate that I've learned those lessons through big wave surfing that I've applied through all other areas of my life as well, is that fear is debilitating for most people. But I've learned that fear is actually one of the greatest tools to be able to help you enhance yourself and overcome great adversity. And also your greatest version of yourself lies beyond your fears. So every time you have fear that is trying to misguide you to not move forward, 99.9% of the time, that actually should be the point that actually drives you to continue forward through the obstacle and the challenge that is ahead of you that you're facing, because that's actually the path. So this famous quote by the Stoics that says, whatever stands in your way becomes the way, is actually the greatest line that will help direct you on your path to discovering your greatest self. Because it is when you have an obstacle and a challenge and adversity or a goal in front of you that seems terrifying, that actually should remind you that you're on the right path and that you need to keep on moving forward through that challenge. Because whatever stands in the way becomes the way. So whatever challenge is facing you that is giving you the fear, that's actually, it should be reminding that you are on the right path and you need to keep on going, which for most people is completely the opposite. For most people go, oh, it's a sign that I need to stop and not move forward. And all these things are happening because it's a sign that I mustn't be moving forward in this direction. No. It's the sign that you are on the right track and you need to keep on pushing through that, because that's when most people will give up and stop. That's when you need to keep on going and push through, because that's where your greatest magic and potential lies beyond that fear. And that's where you learn the most from yourself and you grow the most. And that's where all your greatest goals and self lies, beyond those fears. Be the bison, as I say. The bison is the only animal that actually runs towards a storm. Did you know that?
Sure. Yeah.
So that was day one.
Yeah. No, I think I read about the bison maybe when I was researching your book and your story. So just putting a pin on that journey, yeah, uh, pushing off the coast of Morocco by yourself after having faced incredible hurdles just seems so overwhelming. Not only did you not survive the first 18 hours, you went on to complete this historic battle. And I feel like the ordinary person, they hear 93 days and alone at sea, and I think they don't actually grasp what that means. So maybe you can describe a typical day and what did survival look like?
Well, survival is different almost every single day. I mean, the first three to 5 days of that journey were horrendous. Everything you can imagine could possibly go wrong went wrong, and a whole lot more. I mean, even though I had a backup of a backup of a backup, I had my wind instrument stopped working, my autopilot stopped working, my water maker stopped working, my all my solar systems went down, and then I was paddling between 12 and 15 hours a day. So the only way I can put that into perspective for most normal human beings, it's like doing a full Ironman every single day, without having the luxury of being able to change your muscle groups to other sports, and also being able to then refuel after you've done your full Ironman for the day, to go home and then eat all the stuff that you want to eat, to refuel, and then rest for whatever 7 to 12 hours after doing a full Ironman, but doing that every day on freeze-dried food and not enough on 3 to 4 liters of water a day, where I should have been on 6 to 10 liters of water a day, and then not having more than an hour and a half to 3 hours sleep, and doing that every day for 93 days. But most people talk about 93 days and they're like, oh, okay, 93 days is not too bad, because you just at night, then you go home and you turn off the lights and you jump into bed like you normally would, and you wake up the following morning 7 to 9 hours later. Well, I never had more than an hour and a half sleep, two stints of probably 45 minutes at a time, and I didn't have enough food to be able to like replenish what I was putting, like that I was taking out of my body every day. And in the first 3 to 5 days, I realized that even when I was not paddling, there was actually a current that was taking me back onto land. So the only solution I had to not get shipwrecked down the coastline was to carry on paddling. So I ended up paddling between 20 and 22 hours a day, and then not sleeping pretty much. So it's just so I didn't get shipwrecked down the coast, because there was no one that was going to be able to help me or support me. There was no team, there was no friends, there was no family, there's no Coast Guard, there's no one that you could call. So if I got shipwrecked down there, that was it, game over for me. So only solution I had was to not sleep and get enough further away from the coastline so I didn't get shipwrecked on the coast. And that was in the first 5 days. And then after that, I was pretty impressed and happy with myself that I hadn't died yet. So I sent out a message to say, well, if I can get through the last 5 days, then I can get through anything. And I pushed send, managed to get a signal. And when I sent that mail, what I didn't realize, what I sent out to social media, was that the incoming information that I got back was the weather forecast, which was that I was just about to get hit by probably the biggest storm of the entire journey, which most people don't really understand. When you're on a craft that's only not even a meter wide and this much above the water, you got water coming over you all the time. I got hit by, I don't know, a 10, 15-foot wave that hit me from the side and knocked me off the craft just before dark that evening. Thank goodness my emergency tether engaged and I got dragged behind the craft underneath the water for a couple of about 30 seconds before the craft slowed down, and I pulled myself back up onto the deck. And then I realized it was too dangerous to be out on the deck in those conditions, because if I got separated from my craft for more than like 3.5 seconds or 4 seconds, if my tether snapped, my percentage ratio of survival wasn't like 50% or 20%, it was zero, instantly game over, because my craft would drift away from me faster than I could swim. So don't get separated from your craft, otherwise you're dead pretty much instantly. And that night was probably the most intense storm I've ever endured on any journey. I had 6 to 8 meter waves. I had 50 to 65 knots of wind, getting semi-turned upside down in the middle of a storm in the middle of the night. Sounded like my little capsule was getting disintegrating around me, and my capsule was only as wide as my shoulders and not as long as I'm long, so I couldn't really sleep, and I was getting knocked around inside trying to make water on with a little boiling hot little lit stove to be able to make freeze-dried food. So you can there was just a plethora of different challenges that hit me during that night. And then I deployed the parachute anchor to be able to stabilize myself in the conditions. And then I had this creature that got stuck in the craft, in the parachute anchor, that started dragging me through the top of these waves into and through these crazy conditions. And then I realized that I either had a whale or a giant squid that was stuck in the parachute anchor, dragging me and my craft down through these giant waves. I had to try and release myself, so I cut the line. Then I got caught inside the line, and the craft rolled with me attached to it in the middle of the storm, in the middle of the night. And it was like so far beyond what you can possibly imagine. Realized that there was a giant squid that had actually got trapped in that parachute anchor that we tried release. I got stuck underneath the craft when I got rolled while I was trying to release the giant squid, and then I got trapped underneath the craft, cut the line. When I cut the line then ended up going through my finger and almost taking it down to the bone. And then surviving that night, getting through to the following morning, realizing that my main steering system had been ripped off through the night, besides me almost losing my finger. Only thing that stopped me losing my finger was that my gloves and my taped hands had sort of protected me from that. And then I got pushed into the shipping lanes and then almost got ran over by probably between 20 and 30 super tankers as I got caught in like the busiest shipping channel in the world for 19 hours while I'd had no steering, getting blown down the shipping lanes. Yeah, and that was within the first week. And then I'd chosen the Canary Islands to just as an exit plan to be able to escape just in case everything went to shit, which it did. But and my water maker still wasn't working, so I didn't know if I was going to have enough water for the journey. I damaged a lot of my freeze-dried food, so I didn't know I was going to have enough food for the journey. And then I couldn't use the Canary Islands as an extra strategy because the weather and the wind was too severe, so I couldn't go into any of the safe harbors because I had no steering. I'd almost lost my finger, and I didn't have the steerage to be able to get into the Canary Islands to be able to go in to get all the stuff fixed. And I knew if I did try and go in, that I probably wouldn't be allowed to be able to leave because of everything that had happened. So I decided to just carry on, and I realized that I did the numbers on all the different things that I still had, food and water, and I figured out that if everything went correct after that, and I got into the trade winds and everything moved faster and my craft got lighter, that I would be a lot 30% lighter, and then I should just have enough to be able to get to the other side. But that was a calculated decision, knowing of everything that had gone wrong, and that if everything went as I was hoping, which it never does in the ocean, then I would get to the other side one very skinny pirate or die trying.
Friends, it means a lot that you're here. I pour a ton of heart into the show. The research, the interviews, the editing. It's all me, trying to share stories that matter. If Ageless Athlete has ever made you feel seen, inspired you, or just kept you company on a long drive, or better, over a run or a bike ride, I would be so grateful if you considered supporting it. Even a small amount helps keep it going, helps keep bringing the show to you for free. You can chip in at buymeacoffee.com/agelessathlete. Again, buymeacoffee.com/agelessathlete. You can find the link on the show notes as well. Thank you for listening and for being part of this. That sounds, yeah, wow. Yeah, no, I mean, from the first few days to that night of pure hell to being able to continue completely unsupported and complete this ocean crossing, Chris. Okay, here's a
you have shared the story in a few different ways. There's an amazing movie, I believe, and you have spoken about the story at public speaking events. For example, you were just at a corporate function. I'm just curious, what is the biggest takeaway? You want somebody listening to you talk about that journey and talk about how you faced at times near death. And not only did you come back, you were able to complete this mission that you started.
Well, no, I think that the message in it, all of it, is really that we can all do and achieve far more than we can ever imagine if we believe in ourselves and we have the courage to try. We can achieve extraordinary things, and I believe that there's a hero in every single one of us, and every single ordinary person can be and has an extraordinary ability within them. They just need to believe that and then have the courage and belief in themselves to try. And if you put in the planning and preparation, you build a great team, you have a purpose greater than yourself, and you persevere, and above all else, you never give up, you can achieve literally anything, even the seemingly impossible. And that's what I think a lot of people they don't like to leave the comfort of their comfort zone. And we're not designed as humans to live in the comfort zone. All the magic in the world and all the greatest things and experiences happen outside of our comfort zone. And you can look at that in everything, in business, in sport, in life, in love. You've got to be vulnerable. You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to take a chance. You've got to take a leap of faith, and you've got to believe in yourself and believe in the potential of what's possible in everything in life. And if you don't, you're going to live a very vanilla life, not doing anything, but you're not going to live. You're going to live a copy, paste, repeat version of every day. When I went down to go and get a coffee, like downstairs at the motel lobby, there were a whole lot of people, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I didn't get into it with this person, but they're like, "Oh, you travel a lot. Oh, that's so dangerous. I didn't hear that there's this person, this aircraft that just went down last night, and a whole lot of people died and stuff. It's very, it's very, very dangerous. Don't you worry about that?" And I was like, well, you can worry about everything in life. And if you worry about everything, you'll never do anything. You'll just, the safest way to protect yourself is to not leave your home. But that's not what we're designed to do. We're not designed to stay in a box and stay in our little home space and not go out and have adventures. It's the same as the yachts in the harbor. Every harbor is filled with all these yachts. 90% of those yachts, I think the percentage is like 89.2%, don't leave the harbor. They're just used as for cocktails, but they're not designed to sit in the harbor. Like, we're not designed to live in the harbor of the known. We've designed to be able to go out of the harbor of the known and explore and have adventures and discover and create experiences and memories and learn about ourselves and learn about what's out there in the world and learn about what we're capable of. But we're never going to learn that if we don't try, and we don't try different things and learn different things and get outside and not only just leave it's the same as when we are born. We're born, we live in our little world in our home surrounded by our parents. And as we get older, that little circle extends and expands and gets bigger. And some people never leave their own village or their town. In America, that's very prevalent. Most people don't even have a passport. They've never left their own town. And if they have left their town, they're like, we went out to Mississippi, or we went to Earth. But they don't even have a passport because they've never left their own country. And it's like, there's so much more out there to see and explore and do. There's so much to discover. You'll never learn about yourself and what's possible, what you're capable of, and all the worldly things if you don't go out and explore. And that's what we're all designed to do. And my life that I lead is just an extraordinary bigger version of that same concept.
Chris, one thing about your journey, your career, your life that I find particularly compelling, even beyond your athletic and your ocean pioneering pursuits, is that you grew up in South Africa, far from the surf industry power hubs. What barriers did you?
Everything, all of them.
I am an immigrant in the US trying to build something here, and you have been an outsider yourself.
Who's been an outsider?
So, how did you navigate that, Chris? And then perhaps maybe speak for a minute about the role of the community that you spoke about earlier, that you built for yourself, this ecosystem that has also played a role in helping you succeed.
Well, I think you know as an immigrant yourself how difficult it is. And I think a lot of people don't know and understand how difficult and challenging it is to leave your home. So as an example, a good example of exactly what you're talking about, like I got to the point where I was very, very fortunate to create a following and create an audience and create a community that supported me, that knew who I was, and become pretty well known in my own country. So for a lot of people, that would be enough. You build your audience, you build a reputation, you build credibility, you build notoriety, and you build a reputation for being really good at what you do and being known in most places you go. And as a speaker, I got really well known in South Africa for doing what I do. And then to leave all that behind and to step into a place where you are not known at all, very few people know who you are, what you've done, what you've achieved, and then start from scratch again is really, really difficult. And I think when I say really, really difficult, people have no concept of how difficult that is, to leave your network, to leave your community, to leave your notoriety, to leave your credibility, all that behind and start from scratch in the most difficult market that I believe it exists in the world, which is America, where everything happens differently. No one knows who you are. No one cares. And to America, if you're not a Kardashian, you're not an astronaut, you're not a Olympic gold medalist, and you're not a TV star, then you're no one. Or unless you're a basketball player, NFL player, football star, or baseball star, like that is America. If you're not one of those things, or a Kardashian, or an astronaut, or Olympian, then you're no one, pretty much. So to leave that all behind is probably the most challenging thing that I've done, or one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life. And again, it goes back to that whole concept of, well, why would you do that when you could settle for just being successful in your own country? And I guess that goes down to exactly the same principle that we were talking about. It's like you can settle for average, or you can keep on pushing and keep on challenging yourself and leaning into your fears, leaning into change, leaning into how do you grow. And that is, I think, everything that I do is about leaning into your fears and keep on growing and keeping on evolving. It's not the easy choice, but the easy choice is never the right choice, as we know in all areas of life. It's like, you want to pick the path of least resistance? Good luck. I don't think you're probably going to go that far in life, because if you always take the easy option, you're never going to achieve extraordinary results in everything you do. It's about separating yourself from the rest. And the difference between the best and the rest are believing in yourself and keep on leaning into having the courage to step out of your comfort zone and keep on evolving and challenging. And it means you're probably going to go backwards for a while, and you're going to worry that you've made the right decision, and you're going to question your decision, and you're going to go through huge amounts of adversity and challenges and change. But is that enough to be able to make you give up? For a lot of people, maybe yes. And then you go back to the safe harbor of the known again, which would be my own country and my friends and my family and getting known wherever you go and all that kind of thing. But that's not the right choice. The right choice is to put yourself in an uncomfortable place, maybe go backwards for a couple of years and find it really, really challenging. But that's where you learn and evolve, and you remind yourself all the things you take for granted when you are the definition of success, and you keep moving forward, and then you grow even more, and then you grow into a new space. And when you build notoriety and success in this environment, then you create that success in everything you do. And hopefully that's something that I'm creating over time, and it's not easy, and it's not the easy choice, but that's the decision that I've made all my life, is to be able to take the bumpy road and the path less traveled, and build slowly and organically. And if you persevere and you don't give up, you'll eventually achieve those goals. And all the expeditions that I'm doing at the moment and the ones going forward have extraordinary amount of impact and reach. And the only way I can do that is to be able to come here to America and get the funding that I need to be able to get to that next level, which I wouldn't have been able to do in South Africa with the currency the way it is. So it's not the easy choice, but I know it's the choice that I need to do. And I need to, like the bison, you just go put your head down, face your fears, face the storm, work your way through it, and, just grind it out until you get to the point that you eventually going to get the results that you need. And that's where I am at the moment, moving through the last journey, moving over to America, taking 15 years to be able to get to the point that I've finally got my green card now, and I can start moving forward and getting a little place and building community and building people knowing who you are and what you do. But it takes time to do that. I had to do the Trans-Pacific project across the Pacific, wingfoiling across the Pacific in 2021 and 2022, and then build on your reputation and your credentials, so that when you go out and trying to get sponsorship and funding and support, people can see what you've done, and you've got an undeniable amount of proof that this is who you are, this is what you stand for, this is what you do, so this is what you're going to do. And if you want to get on board, that's awesome. If you don't, that's okay too, because it's still going to happen.
Chris, I know we're getting to the end of our time. One other thing that I want to ask you is, to many people, when they look at your journey, they might see this, let's say, gifted, extraordinarily passionate individual who is on this crusade, who's out there just, getting things done one after the other. However, I sense that's true to some degree, but the road to here has been, let's say, full of thorns, full of learnings, full of things that you've had to teach yourself. So looking back at everything that you've done, what's the one belief or mindset shift that changed your life the most?
Hello, friends. Just a quick break. This is not an ad. If you have been enjoying these conversations, I would love for you to subscribe to my newsletter. It is where I go deeper, sharing stories, reflections, and behind the scenes insights that don't always make it into the podcast. I write about what I'm learning from elite athletes and how to stay ageless in body and mind. If you have ever wanted a thoughtful, inspiring read that ties it all together, training, aging, mindset, and awe, you will love this. You can find the link in the show notes, or just head to agelessathlete.co. Again, www.agelessathlete.co, that is, to sign up. And yeah, just a couple of emails a month, and you can unsubscribe anytime. Absolutely no spam ever. Okay, back to the show.
Well, there's so many things. I don't think I can narrow down to one thing. But perspective is everything. So it's about having the mindset for success, the mindset for resilience, the mindset to persevere when everything else tells you that you're not going to be able to succeed. You just keep on going, no matter what. And no matter how deep you get into debt, no matter what, it's just like I just don't believe in failure, and I don't believe in stopping. I believe that if you keep on working towards your goal, no matter what, if you don't give up, the only reason why you're not going to succeed is if you give up. So if you know that, why would you ever give up? It's really simple. And then just to be able to learn to reframe things. Reframing is an important part of everything. So there's no such thing as negative. There's no such thing as failure. There's no such thing as a negative experience. Everything can be turned into a positive, and there's always a way to be able to see something in a way that you can learn and evolve from it, and it's going to continue to add to your tools that are going to help you get to where you want to go. And if you consistently keep moving forward in the directions of your goals and your dreams and your mission and your vision, you're always going to get there, no matter what, unless you give up and stop trying. So why on earth would you give up
Chris-
and stop trying if you know that?
Yeah. Chris, may I ask, how old are you?
Just turned 50.
Okay. 50 years young. You accomplished many things, and you had this like deep fire, through your early years, through your teenage, through your surfing odysseys.
Don't let the fire go out. That's the key.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, do you still have the same drive to prove yourself, or has that motivation changed?
Well, I think, Kush, the key part of that question is, do I still have that drive? And I think that's the most important thing, is just never letting the fire go out is the key thing. Be so passionate about what you do that you have a battery pack that never runs flat. And I'm very fortunate that I'm very purpose driven. And when you're driven by passion and powered by purpose, then you never really have a battery pack that goes flat. It's just you consistently driven because of that. And that's been very powerful for me, and it's helped me on my journey. And whether it be me being 25 or whether me being 50, it really doesn't change anything for me at all. Maybe I don't have as much energy as when I was 25, but I still have the drive to be able to do what I do, because I know what I do impacts on and inspires and changes the lives of others. And that for me is everything.
And Chris, this is such an important learning opportunity for us here as part of the theme of this podcast, which is being ageless. As we get older, that drive sometimes fades, right? And you have not let that fade. What can we learn from your journey? How can the rest of us who are not out there trying to do these expeditions, how can we not let that fire fade away into the night as we get older, as we let all of these other encumbrances of life sidetrack us?
I think that's different for everyone, I guess. You've just got to, I think it's very important to keep on getting outdoors in nature, keep on moving. I think movement is what I've noticed is there's been a shift in regarding to how to be able to stay fit and focused and on point and on purpose. Is now I have to work at it more than in the past. It used to just come naturally. Now it's something that I work at on a continuous daily basis. And I work out. When I say work out, like I run, swim, surf, foil, whatever it is, sail. I do that consistently because it's as beneficial, if not more beneficial mentally than it is physically. And I know that if I don't train and I don't stay fit, one, it's really bad for me psychologically. Two, mentally, it also doesn't help my mental state. Three, it doesn't allow me to be able to reset every day and keep up like a super positive mental attitude. And I think it's important. I've realized that when you don't stay fit, when you get into your 40s, like 40s and late 40s, you lose your fitness and you lose your muscle really quickly. And the most important thing that anybody that's studied neuroscience and studied physicality is that if you don't use it, you lose it. So you've got to keep on utilizing your muscles and keep on staying fit, because your physical fitness helps on your mental state dramatically. And once you lose your fitness when you're in your 40s and early 50s, it's very difficult to get it back. So it's about maintaining a very core basic fitness and a discipline and a consistency to be able to keep physically and mentally sharp. And the way you do that is discipline and consistency in showing up each and every day and doing exercise, which is as important for your physical state as it is for your mental state. And that will help you in all other areas of life. And over and above that is filling your days and your months and your years with key goals that keep you moving forward on point and on purpose, and keep on building memories and experiences that remind you of what's possible, remind you what's out there, and remind you that life is worth living and you should keep on going out and having adventures, because that's what life is all about. Building memories, building experiences, building reminders in your daily and weekly and monthly and annual schedule of that life is an incredible gift that we should never take for granted. I always focus on having an attitude of gratitude each and every day, focusing on all the things that most people take for granted, and just being grateful that when you stand up and you get out of bed each morning, that is a gift. So if you're not using it and you're not going out and exploring and living your best life to your full potential, then why are you even here?
Chris, you lead this extremely intense, purpose driven life. And I'm curious if there is a simple or mundane habit that you may have picked up in the last several years that keeps you grounded, that gives you outsized returns.
I don't think anything is like a a mundane habit. I think it's really about discipline and consistency. And I think when you study any successful person in life, in all areas of life, whether it be in business and life and sport, they'll talk about discipline, consistency, showing up when you don't want to, when you don't feel like it, when you're tired, and building that into your daily, weekly, and monthly regime, as in show up each and every day. Make sure you've got a goal that you're working towards, that you are passionate about, and make sure that then you take at least 1 or 2 daily steps and actions in order to be able to move forward towards making that happen. And if you do that, you'll always be moving forward towards something that drives you, that inspires you, that keeps you passionate and keeps you on point and on purpose and moving forward in the right direction in life. And we've all got to have things that inspire us and that excite us and that make us excited to get up in each and every day. And some days it's more difficult than others, like it is for me, but it doesn't mean you don't get up and you don't show up and you give it your best. So think of what you want to do, take daily steps and actions towards it, get up each and every day with a mission that you are excited about or that inspires you, that keeps you moving forward in the right direction. And then keep on using your mindset and your attitude in regarding to being grateful just to be alive and showing up, and keep moving forward in the direction of your goals and dreams, and then use your gifts and your tools to be able to also show up for others and lift other people up and make a positive impact on the world. Because I believe that if you're not leaving the world better than when you found it, then you're not being the best version of yourself as a human as you can possibly be. And like one of my first books always quoted, if you can dream it and you can see it and you truly believe it, you can achieve it. You can achieve anything in life. So go out there, have an adventure, stay focused, stay positive, stay proactive, keep a positive mental attitude, lift up others, help others wherever you can, and leave the world a better place than you found it.
Chris, we are over time, but I have to ask you this. Your books, your talks, your message is connecting with people, and sometimes in profound ways. Do you have perhaps a fan story or a listener story where your message has gone across and has made a big impact?
Yeah, I think that's sort of the moral of the story is just be kind. Be kind, help others wherever you can. Because when you do, you never know the ripple effect that you have on others and the world around you. And I'm very fortunate that as I've gone through life, I've often get people come up to me after I do a talk saying that, what I said really impacted and struck a chord for them because of what they're going through in life, whether it be going through a divorce, whether it's going through some physical illness, whether it's going through some mental illness, or they've lost someone, or all these different reasons that people come up to me and share stories with me. I mean, I get messages almost on a weekly basis from people around the world, whether it be through them reading one of my books. Like last week I got a message from someone that was I don't know, it was like the oldest version of one of my books that I've ever seen. It looked like it's been passed down through 20 different people. um, it was a friend of his that recommended that he should read it because he was going through a difficult time or he was at a crossroad in life. And it seems like my stories and the way that I write my books are like a catalyst for change. They're a catalyst for people that are going through a difficult time or gone through adversity, challenge, or change. And it is a catalyst for them to be able to go, well, if this guy's gone through all this stuff and he's kept on going and he's done this and this and this, maybe I can too. Maybe I can change my life. Maybe at this crossroads that I'm at in life, I can take a different road and I can take the path less traveled, because he's shown me that through adversity comes great opportunity if you're willing to take that path less traveled or take that leap of faith and try a different option. And maybe I can persevere and I can get through this, or I can take this different road. I hate this job that I'm in. Maybe I can take the plunge and take this different road. Or I can't believe he got through all this adversity when he was in hospital and he broke his knee, and then he got through this and he carried on going, and then he went and surfed these giant waves and won the event after he got told that he'd never be able to walk again. Or he got told that, like, within the first week of his adventure on the transatlantic, he thought he was going to die. How did he carry on going? Well, if he can do that, then I can definitely get through this. And it gives people the belief in themselves and the courage to be able to take that path. And I've had so many people send me messages, like whether their parent was in hospital, like dying of cancer, that brought them back together, that like his son wanted him to read to him the stories out of my book when he was dying on his deathbed through cancer, that brought them back together, that hadn't spoken to each other for 10 years. And that what my book was the thing that brought them back together, whether it was getting through cancer, whether it was the mother that never thought that they could do a 5K race, that was doing their first 21K and was going to about to give up in the middle of like the storm, that in the last 5Ks of the race, and she was in the middle of the storm going up this hill and was pissing with rain, and she was just about to give up. And then she thought of me on the transatlantic and the book that she had read about me never giving up through all the different things. And she was like, oh, if Chris could get through all this, how am I even thinking of giving up? And I've got 5 kilometers to go on this 21K that I never thought that I was going to be able to achieve. And that's a mother that never thought that she could do a half marathon kind of thing. Like, there's so many different areas of life that the story and my journeys have touched, that have helped people get through difficult, challenging times where they never thought that they could. And what it does is it just inspires people to believe in themselves, to carry on going when they never thought that they could, to be able to either give people the hope and the courage to get through adversity, challenge, change the direction in their life, get divorced from a partner that's abusive and take that leap of faith to be able to get out of, change the job, change your career, change your life, or get through whatever goals you've set for yourself. We all can. We have a well of courage and going beyond what we thought was possible, but we never know what we can do unless we try, and then have the courage to carry on going when we never think we can, because there's an untapped well of power and courage and belief in ourselves that we can endure if we just choose to, and have the belief in ourselves that we.
Sure.
And that's really what it's about.
That's fantastic. And not only, I feel like these stories and these messages, they likely come back and reverberate with you as well, in helping you stay fueled and passionate about the work that you're doing, because it is making that impact. Before we go, Chris, how can listeners find out about your next exciting project? And then also, how can they be part of your journey and support you?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. That's great. So I'm on Facebook on official Chris Bertish, and then on Instagram at Chris Bertish, all one word, and YouTube, same thing, and then just chrisbertish.com, BERTISH, Bertish, chrisbertish.com. And then at the end of the day, it's just anybody that wants to get involved and support any one of my journeys. We're always looking for sponsors and partners. So anybody is welcome to just send me an email at chris@chrisbertish.com, or drop me a DM on Instagram. I'm very available. And, a lot of people just think that I'm this, all these figures that you put up on a pedestal, or you think of these unapproachable people, but, I'm like everyone else. I'm just an ordinary guy that has a very strong passion and belief in giving back, helping others, and inspiring people to believe in themselves and what's possible. And we all can do extraordinary things. We've just got to live with the belief in ourselves and the courage to try, and go out there, have an adventure, and go and chase those goals and dreams, because you never know what's possible unless you try. And don't wait until next year or the next year, or when this is right. Go out and do it now, because life happens without you knowing it, and suddenly you realize you 55 or 60, and all the things that you want to do, you now can't and not able to do, or life throws something in your path, or a health issue, or something that changes in your life. And don't wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow is not a given, it's a gift. So get out there and change your life, and do the things you want to do now. Don't live someone else's life, live your own life, and follow your passions, live your dreams. You only have one life to live. Make it right, make it happen now.
That's it, folks. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Ageless Athlete Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this show just as much as I enjoyed creating and producing it. Whether you are an athlete looking to push your limits, or someone striving to maintain a healthy, active lifestyle as you age, there is always something new to learn. From Ageless Athlete, we bring you a fresh episode each and every week. If you liked what you heard, we would love it if you would take a moment to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an update. And if you really liked what you heard, please leave us a review, crush those 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. It helps us reach more people who are passionate about staying strong and resilient, no matter the age. Don't forget to visit our website and leave your email so I can send you occasional insights, stories, and tips to keep you inspired and motivated on your journey. You can also follow us on Instagram at Ageless Athlete Podcast, and on YouTube at Ageless Athlete Podcast as well, for even more great content. All of these links are available on the show notes for this episode. This show is entirely produced by me, Kush Khandelwal, based out of California, with the help of my trusted adventure pup Roger. Until next time, keep challenging yourself, keep pushing those limits, stay mentally and physically fit, continue doing what you love to do, and my friends, stay ageless.
Friends, this is not an ad. This is just a quick message to those amongst us who are listening to Ageless Athlete podcast for the first time. I would love it if you would hit subscribe and follow on your favorite podcast app, whether it's Apple Podcast or Spotify or Stitcher or Overcast or what have you. We bring you stories and routines and other inspiration from elites in the world of the best outdoor sports. In each episode, you will find how these athletes stay connected to the outdoors, maintain peak performance, and continue to thrive as they age. I encourage you to look through prior episodes and listen to a couple and see if they resonate. And then, come back next week. We release an episode each week. And I am really inspired to bring you some of the best stories from the world of the outdoors. Okay, back to the show.